All right, shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Mashiach Malak Bashai. That is to say, Yahweh, being named the Heavenly Father, who the world will call God, and Yahweh Shai, being named His only begotten Son, who the world arrogantly called Jesus Christ. All right, this is Brother Kasadi from W5 Jersey, Philly, and this is a part 2 video to a video I just recently did on a Cold Cuts channel. If you want to watch part 1, go to the Cold Cuts channel. I'm making part 2 over here so we can get, more brothers and sisters to come over to the WFI backup channel. All right, brothers is laboring, putting their time in, investing time into, the breakdowns on this channel. So we got to help build this channel up. And definitely, since, all hell's been breaking loose, we've been getting a lot of strikes and whatnot on the main Cold Cuts channel. But nevertheless, we're going to continue to try to build this channel up, right, through the will of the Most High God. All right, so again, this is the part 2 breakdown to the order of the major prophecies that must take place in the earth. All right, so I have them listed out. If you watch the first video, again on the Cold Cuts, right, we touched on, the elect had to be sealed, Jacob's trouble, right, the sixth seal, the return of Yahweh Shai, and the first resurrection, and we touched on deliverance. Now we're going to kick off, right, Armageddon, right, and what's going to take place with Armageddon, right, what is Armageddon, right, we're going to tackle all of that. Right, you got Armageddon, you got the second wilderness, you got the battle of Gog and Magog, you got hunting down the heathen, you got the slaves rebuilding the kingdom, and then you got the everlasting dominion. So let's get into it. We're gonna kick it off with the book of Revelation. All right, we're gonna kick it off. We're gonna kick it off with the book of Revelation, the 19th chapter. All right, so we touching on, again, Armageddon. Right, so this is Revelation chapter 19, and I believe I want to start at verse number 19, right? Revelation chapter 19 to verse 19. All right. Now, like I mentioned on the first video, we're not going to go in depthly on each and every topic, each and every major prophecy, right? We're going to touch on it. We're going to provide some precepts, but each topic in its own self is worth, at least an hour breakdown, right? It literally can be an hour breakdown. So if I have 10 major events that have to happen, then that's 10 hours right there. All right. So nevertheless, we're going to kick it off with Armageddon. We're going to touch on the precepts, right? Give you, some precepts to get you on your way. And you can go watch other in-depth breakdowns on these other topics. All right. So we're going to kick it off with Revelation chapter 19 and verse 19. It reads, "And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on a horse and against his army." All right, so the beast that was Saul, right, is Esau, right? This Esau is the beast that was Saul. It says, "And the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on a horse and against his army." So we're gonna kick it off. We're gonna go to Revelation, the 13th chapter. All right, so that beast is Esau, the so-called white man. Now, you got the original Roman Empire, which all these other Edomite nations, they kind of look after and take after the customs of. But also you got America being another beast in its own right. All right, so this is Revelation chapter 13, and I'm gonna start at verse. I didn't want Revelation 13. Yeah, let me get Revelation 13. Revelation chapter 13, I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, Revelation 13 and 1. "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, upon his heads 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." All right, so this beast that rose up out of the sea is Esau, and all the Edomite empires is going to rule under, the umbrella of being an Edomite. Now, with that being said, it said it was 7 heads. These 7 heads are known as the 7 different major Edomite kingdoms that ruled in the earth. Right, you have Greece, right? You have Germany, you have UK, you have France, you have Spain, you have Great Britain, and you got Rome. These are the 7 major beasts that ruled, or major Edomite kingdoms that ruled in the earth. Again, that's Greece, Germany, Spain, France, Great Britain, Rome, right? And then you got Russia. Slocky, I don't know if I mentioned Russia, but that's the 7 heads. All right. So with that being said, it also said, "And upon his horns 10 crowns." These 10 crowns are the original 10 provinces of the Edomite Empire, right? Not to go in depthly, but you can look at it today as the so-called EU. all right, which is originally 10 nations formed, that was original province of Rome Empire when they ruled right throughout the Roman Empire and throughout the so-called Western Roman Empire before it fell. All right, so you can check that out, which today again is the so-called EU. So let's read on. It says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. This beast was like unto a leopard because it took after the customs of how the Greeks came and got down. Right? The Greeks are known as that leopard. Let's go to Daniel, the 8th chapter. Actually, let's go to Daniel, the 7th chapter. All right. So let's kick it off. We kind of in there. All right, this is prophecy, man. And real quick, right now it's 9:45 on the so-called East Coast. But in just a few hours, we're going to have a blood moon. Not just any old blood moon, but a so-called lunar eclipse. So it's something to keep watch over. It's going to take place for the span of around 3 hours. 3 hours and like 30 minutes. That's very significant. This is the longest so-called lunar eclipse in the entire century. All right, for 1,000 years. All right, or a century is 100, right? I believe a century is 100 years. So that's the long, that's a little bit of time. 100 years. Imagine what was happening just 100 years ago. All right, the early 1900s. Let's kick it off. This is Daniel, right? Chapter 7, Daniel 7, and I'm gonna start at verse 7. I'm gonna start at verse 6. This is Daniel chapter 7, verse 6. And this I beheld, and lo, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So this beast that is going into, or this leopard is going into the Grecian Empire. Now, they were swift to overcome their enemies. And it was widely known by Alexander, which is a Macedonian leader who actually took over after his father Philip died, right? He actually took over and overcame King Darius in the so-called Battle of Gog and Magog around 334 BC. From there on, he was swift to overcome his enemies. You read about that in the book of First Maccabees, the 1st chapter, and the book of Daniel, the 8th chapter, how he overcame, right, anyone that set before him. And literally the whole earth was quiet before him. So that's how he was known as a so-called leopard. It's not a literal leopard. And this is the embellishment of all Greeks. That is, anytime you see a leopard, you think of the Greeks. No, that's not what it is. It was talking about, right? This is a spiritual thing to discern, right? So that these prophets made it plain upon tables, like it tell you in the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, so that we can easily be able to receive it in these last days. Now, again, it was widely known that Alexander, he had a leopard skin hat when he fought in these wars. All right. So let's read on. Verse 7. What I said on that? Saki, I'm gonna read that again. Verse 6. And this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Now this dominion that was given to these 4 heads is going into the 4 different rulers. And shalom to everyone that's tuning in. But it's going into the 4 rulers that came out of so-called or followed after Alexander had passed. Right, so the 4 rulers would be Cassander, right? You got Lysimachus, right? You had Seleucid, right? You had Ptolemy, right? But I'm actually get the actual account. Let's go to the book of Daniel, the 8th chapter, real quick. Let's go to Daniel chapter 8. Right, to link this up real quick. This is Daniel chapter 8, and I'm gonna start at verse number 5. Right, Daniel chapter 8 and verse 5. All right, and it reads, it says, and I was considering, and as I was considering, behold, and he goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. Now, if you look it up, Greece is on the so-called western, it's going towards the western hemisphere of the earth, right? You can read on. It says, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Now, this he-goat never touching the ground is going into the Greeks under Alexander never losing a war. He never lost a war. I tell you in First Maccabees, the 1st chapter, he won many wars and won many strongholds. I mean, he took different lands from different kings of the earth and conquered. All right, reading on. It says, and had a notable horn between his eyes. This notable horn is talking about is going to go into Alexander the Great. He's a notable horn, right, that came from the Greeks, Let's read on. And he came to the ram that had two horns. This ram that had two horns, like it mentions in verse 3 and verse 4, this ram is going into the Medo-Persian Empire. And one horn lifted up itself over the other horn. That one horn that lifted up itself over the other horn is going to the Persians, being of a more greater and vaster empire than the Medo, or the so-called Medes. Right? Reading on. It says, and he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him. This word choler is meaning he had rage, right? And smote the ram and break his two horns. Now this took place again during a battle of Gog and Magog in around 334 BC, when Alexander and his Macedonian / Grecian army overcame the Persians. Let's read on. And smote the ram and break his two horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken. That great horn that was broken is Alexander being broken down, and allowing then, again, you got Cassander, you got Lysimachus, you got Seleucid, and you got Ptolemy. These four rulers or four generals that was under Alexander, they overcame and took the empire because he parted his kingdom four ways. Let's read on. It says, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven, meaning they was in the four corners of the earth, meaning they really had the Grecian Empire being so vast, they had control. Some had control over Syria and Egypt. Other had control over Macedonia and Greece. Other had control of so-called Mesopotamia, and so on and so forth. Right? That's how the kingdom was split. Right? Given that the Medo-Persian Empire was very vast, once the Greeks took over, they had all that. And much more when the Romans took over, they had even more than that. So back to Revelation, the 13th chapter. So that's that leopard that I mentioned in Revelation chapter 13 verse 2. Let's read on. Revelation 13 and verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear. Right, so the end of anything, the end of any man, right, the bottom of it will be the feet. Now when you go into it, I don't have the streams pulled up because I'm just, regular recording right now or live. But nevertheless, when you go into it, there's something known as the Russian bear, right? Russia will be the last nation or Edomite nation in power. Let's go to, real quick. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, 12th chapter. So this feet of a bear is going into the Russians ruling during the time of the end. They'll be the last Edomite kingdom to rule. And it actually links up when you read about Ezekiel 38-39, the battle of Gog and Magog, which is, that's in depth. And we're going to touch on it a little willing through the Spirit. Let's get into it. 2nd Ezra chapter 12, and I'm going to start at verse 21. 22. 2nd Ezra 12 and 22. And whereas thou sawest three heads resting, this is an interpretation. In his last days. So in the last days of this eagle, this great eagle, in his last days, and we living in the time of the last days, you got all hell about to break loose. You got, like we mentioned, you got the lunar eclipse. You got these nations rising up against America. Right, you got China, Iran, Russia, all these nations ready to overthrow and destroy America. Right, they're literally on the brinks of war. Any second now, it could be just like this, man. Any second now, all hell's gonna break loose on the earth. So these nations are ready to overthrow America. This is the last days of the so-called white man. All right, let's read on. It says, in his last days shall the Most High raise up three kingdoms and renew many things therein, and they shall have the dominion of the earth. So these three kingdoms of Esau, of Esau, that's going to have the dominion of the earth. It's going into U.S., it's going into Russia, and it's going into the EU. All right, these are the three different kingdoms of the so-called white man that's ruling in these last days. Let's read on. And if those that dwell therein with much oppression above all that were before them, therefore are they called the heads of the eagle. And you can read up the book of Obadiah to go more in depthly on Esau being an eagle. Let's read on. It says, for these are they that shall accomplish his wickedness, and they shall finish his last end. And whereas thou sawest that the great head appear no more, it signifieth that one of them should die upon his bed, and yet with pain. In America, you can read about Revelation, the 18th chapter, showing that America is going to be gone right in the space of an hour. So that's the one that's going to die upon his bed, and yet with pain. When you're in your bed, you're sleeping, you're relaxing. You're not paying attention. You're not worrying about all hell breaking loose. You're not worrying about an intruder coming in your house. You're in your comfort spot. Right now, out of those three kingdoms that we listed, Russia, America, and the EU, America, out of those other two, they're in their comfort spot. They're chilling. All the nations don't believe they can make war against America, and America has taken heed to that. They now feel like they're at the top of this, and no one can ever overthrow them or usurp their authority over them. But America is about to be soon mistaken and forsaken, right? Verse 27, for the two that shall remain shall be slain with the sword, right? The Lord is going to allow the other two, EU, Russia, to damn try to fight for power, and they're going to kill each other. Ultimately, Russia's going to be the last one on top. It's going to tell you that. Verse 28, for the sword of the one shall devour the other, right? Russia is going to overthrow the other. EU, right? Reading on, it says, but at the last shall he fall through the sword himself. And you can read about that in the book of Ezekiel, the 39th chapter. How they're going to fall through the sword on our own manner. How the Lord is going to allow them to start destroying themselves and ultimately to be destroyed by Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So when we go back to Revelation chapter 13 and verse 2, we're reading about this beast. This beast is none other than Esau and his different kingdoms that, extend from that. Now, back to it. Revelation 13 and 2. It says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. When you go into it, a lot of these policies and different the way things are set up in a so-called parliament, those things come from EU. Those things come from chiefly UK to Great Britain. All right. So when you look at it, when you actually look it up, they have a shield of lion. That's their symbol, is a lion. So when it says it had the mouth of a lion, meaning it's going to devour his prey. But ultimately, also you go in a little bit more deeply into it. Like I mentioned, that's literally the symbol, the so-called country symbol for UK. So that's what that's also going into. It says, and the dragon gave him his power. This dragon, when you read Revelation, the 12th chapter, this dragon is on twofold, Rome, but also Rome regenerated, which today is America. But right here in this context, it says, and the dragon gave him his power. Right, Rome gave the power to these Edomite empires. Remember, the so-called Renaissance, which means rebirth, when the so-called white man came back into power in the early 1500s to late 1500s, that took place in Rome, Italy, or Italy, Rome. Or, yeah, Rome, Italy, however you want to put it. But that was when they repainted or whitewashed the images of Yahweh Shai and repainted them into Caesar Borgia via Leonardo da Vinci, right? Literally whitewashing the images of Yahweh Shai. So all that whole so-called rebirth and Renaissance, that took place during a time of, again, those being in Rome during the so-called Renaissance in the early 1500s. Let's read on. It says, in all the world, hold on, that's not where it's at. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So back to Revelation, the 19th chapter. This beast is going into Esau, right? Let's go back to it. This Revelation chapter 19, and I'm going to start at verse number 19. And the beast, Saki, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth. The kings of the earth is the different rulers of the earth. The ruler of Iran, the ruler of China, the ruler of Russia, Putin. These are the different kings of the earth. When you go to Revelation chapter 16, it talks about the kings of the earth. This is Revelation chapter 16 and verse number 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon a great river Euphrates. Then his vial was going into a bowl or a cup thereof that was poured upon the river Euphrates. Not on a literal level, but on a spiritual level. Meaning the Lord now allowed these angels to bring destruction or fulfill these different plagues, these 7 different vials that's going to be sent out on the earth. throughout a dispensation of time. Reading on. It says, upon a great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Right, so the Lord allowed for the river Euphrates to be dried up around 2009, so that all the nations of the earth, chiefly the nations of the east, they can come over and they can start joining battle one against another. These things are written. These things are prophesied to happen, and they happen, and they're continuing to happen. So again, these kings of the earth, these are, again, the different rulers that's behind the scenes, behind closed doors. The ruler of China, the ruler of damn Iran, the ruler of Russia, the ruler of damn Israel, America. These different kings of the earth. Now, again, America's going to be destroyed by the time of Armageddon. They're going to be the first nation destroyed during the time of World War III, right? But nevertheless, let's read on in Revelation chapter 19. It says, and I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. And the beast was taken, and him that, and with him the false prophet, which is going into the religious system of the nations, chiefly of the so-called white man, that wrought miracles before him, which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, meaning that got down and bowed down with the so-called white man, and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone. So then let's go to Salakia. So they're going to try to make war against Yahushua, which is going to come in his chariot. We know Yahushua is going to, when he returns, he's going to come back the same way he left. Let's go to the book of Acts real quick. Let's kick it over with the book of Acts. All right, so this is Acts chapter 1, verse 9. So when Yahushua returns, he's going to return sitting upon a fathership, sitting upon what you know as a so-called UFO, right? But it's not a literal UFO like the movie Independence Day or the damn, what is it, War of Worlds or something like that, or whatever it's called. Them different damn movies with so-called aliens and UFOs invading the so-called sky and coming down upon man and zapping them up. That's not how the Lord's going to come back. It's going to be a literal chariot. Now, it's not known as a UFO. We know them as IFOs, identified flying objects, which are the vehicles that the Lord allows his angels to operate in. This is the book of Acts, chapter 1 and verse number 9. Acts 1 and 9. And when he had spoken these words, and when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. Then this cloud is not a literal cloud. The Lord wasn't beamed up in a rain cloud. A rain cloud kind of came down, it drizzled a little bit, it pulled Yahushua up into the cloud, and he just ascended into the third heaven. That's not what it's going into. This cloud is a chariot of the Lord, right? A classic precept. I'm going to get a few more after this, actually, on these chariots. But it's the book of Psalm, chapter 104 and verse number 3. It says, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, right? The chambers is a different chariots of the Lord, right? We got precepts that says that the Lord is going to tell us to enter into the chambers, right? But let's read on. It says, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. So the clouds are the chariots of the Lord. When we look in the other day we was in Houston. This is like Sunday morning, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. We was playing spades, early in the damn morning before we hopped into our flight. And we got the window wide open, right? We got the window open. The curtains is pulled back, and we're looking out directly across from us. We seeing, chariots out there. It was about 4 of them. It kept appearing, disappearing, floating over to the side, and it kept getting brighter and brighter. It looks like it was literally glowing fire directly across from us. So it was magnificent. It was mighty, but nevertheless, there's not a literal cloud, right? Reading on, they can cloak themselves in the clouds. It was one time was out at camp in Philly on 10th and Market Street, and I'm teaching, but brothers that's on the line, or even the sisters that was sitting afar off, they were looking up in the sky, and we even got the video. We kind of zoomed in. There was about 40 or so chariots in the sky, right? Cloaking themselves in the clouds. So that, again, it's not a literal cloud, but nevertheless, the Lord said that he makes the clouds his chariots. Let's get another precept. Let's go to the book of Matthew, St. Matthew. Right, so it's important to understand what's going on here. This is the book of St. Matthew. So like, bear with me 1 second. But I believe it was St. Matthew. Bear with me 1 second. Let me just get this one real quick. This is the book of St. Matthew, right? Chapter 24, and I'm gonna start at verse number 29. Right, but I was looking for something else. But that's all right. Let me get this verse. This is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 24, verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, which is on one fold physical, but another fold spiritually, that the wisdom and understanding, which is the sun and the moon today, being lights, they're not going to be out in the earth. Whether it's Esau's wisdom, or even there's going to be a famine of the word, pursuing in Amos, the 8th chapter, and 8 and 11, and the book of 2nd Ezra, the 5th chapter, verses 1 and verse 9. Right? But reading on. And the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. Right? Those stars going into the missiles, falling and hitting the sky. To tell you that in Isaiah 34 and 4 on down, Revelation 6 and 12, those stars are the missiles of the Lord that's going to be hitting the earth. Same way you see a shooting star in the sky is the same way you're going to see a missile hit the ground. Reading on. It says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Now, again, this cloud is talking about is the chariots of the Lord, man. Right? The Most High God is going to send his son, Yahushua, down right in these chariots. Let's go to the book of Jude, the 1st chapter. All right, there's actually only one chapter in Jude. But nevertheless, let's go to Jude. I believe I want to start at verse number 14. All right. This is Jude, verse 14. And it reads, it says, and Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints. So when the Lord comes back, he's coming back with 10,000, meaning not just a literal 10,000, but thousands of angels, a innumerable amount. Like I tell you in Psalms 68 and 17. It says, to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds, which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches, which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Right, so when Yahushua returns, he's going to execute judgment upon these other nations, and even upon our own nation, for the men, women, and children that don't get right and repent in these last days. Let's get another precept on Yahushua is going to come, on how Yahushua will come back. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians. All right. 1 Thessalonians. Actually, let me get 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse number 7. 2 Thessalonians 1 and 8. 7. I started 7. And to you who are troubled, rest with us when the Lord Yahushua shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels. Right? They're not going to all come down on a surfboard. They're not all coming down on damn United Airlines or Delta or Spirit. They're going to come back in chariots, which are the spirits of the Lord. If you got ears to hear. It says verse 8, and flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not Yahweh, and that obey not the gospel of our Lord Yahushua Mashiach. So when the Lord comes down, he's going to execute judgment upon man, those that are not keeping the commandments of the Lord. And he's going to specifically come down and destroy these other nations. So let's get up in it. Let's go to Revelation, the 13th chapter. This is known as the Battle of Armageddon. All right. Revelation chapter 13. Let's kick it off. And we're going to start at verse 1. All right. Revelation chapter 13 and verse 1. And it came to pass, after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the ways thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth felleth when it filleth the fire. Right, because man will be judged by the words of the Lord. And Yahushua, he is the word of the Lord. So man all has to come to condemnation or be delivered via the words of the Lord. So it's important to read, study, meditate upon the words of the Lord, because by those same words, you can be condemned or justified. Right, reading on. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. So the Lord is going to allow all these different nations are going to try to come against the Lord Yahushai and fight against him. Let's get another precept on this. This is sorry, I was about to say Saint. This is Revelation chapter 14 or 17 and verse number 14. Right, Revelation chapter 17 and verse number 14. It says, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. All right, so these different nations, they're going to try to make war against the Lord Yahushua, right? The so-called seven heads, the so-called 10 horns, right? The Edomite nations, and not just the Edomite nations, but all nations of the earth. It literally told you in Revelation 19 and 19 that the kings of the earth are going to be gathered together against Yahushua. So, and they're going to think within themselves to subdue Yahushua. They have something known as a space force. America's not the only one with a space force. China has a space force. These different nations are trying to join themselves in a league behind closed doors to be on a united front against Yahushua. And they're going to be easily destroyed, man. Who do you look like fight against your creator? Right. Yahushua, he created this world. I tell you that in Colossians 1 and 14 on them. Right. Ultimately, it was the will of the Most High God, Yahweh, but through Yahushua, everything was made manifest. So they're going to try to destroy their creator. They're going to try to join battle against the Lord Yahushua. They're going to be destroyed immediately with thermonuclear heat from those chariots. All right. So back to it. Second Ezra chapter 13 and verse number 5. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. And I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. It's not a literal mountain. He's actually going to say that he didn't understand what mountain or hill this could have been came from, but it's showing you how vast, right, the fathership will be. It's going to be as in a similitude of a mountain. And a mountain is big. You see Mount Everest. You see all these different mountains that Esau likes to travel and climb up and do rock climbing with. Hey, imagine a chariot or a so-called mountain filling the whole face of the sky. You see it on the eastern hemisphere and on the western hemisphere, filling the entire earth, right? Let's read on. It says, but I will have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. These men didn't even want to fight, man. Let me get a precept. So they're going to see Yahushua, and they're never going to want to fight. They're actually going to give up the ghost. Just from the look of Yahushua. This is Jeremiah chapter 51, and I'm going to start at verse number 30. Jeremiah 51 and verse 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. And not just Babylon, but all the other nations. They're not going to want to fight against Yahushua. They think they want to fight against Yahushua because the Lord is putting it in their spirit to have a wicked, vile thought. To be able to overcome the Lord. Who are you? You're just man. Dust and ashes. Going here one day, going the next day. Grass one day, withered away and cut down the very next. A tree blossoming and cut down in the same token. So that's just man. Man can't get right. Specifically Esau, he cannot get right. It tell you that in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 4 on down. So they have to be destroyed. Right? Reading on. It says, they have remained in their holds. Their might had failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. So the mighty men of Babylon or the mighty men of the other nations, they're going to become as women in that day when they see Yahushua. They're going to be trembling and shaking in their boots. They're going to be like damn strippers, man. Damn shaking all damn day. That's how the other nations going to be when they see Yahushua. So back to 2 Ezra chapter 13 and verse number 9. It says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. Right? Yahushua don't need those things. Right? He really doesn't need those things. Right? He's going to destroy man just by the words of his own might. Right? Just by, again, man being condemned by the words of the Lord. Right? It says, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon a multitude which were prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, no thing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Even Ezra was afraid. And he's on the side of the Lord is on his side. So even Ezra was afraid. And even Israel will be beamed up in them chariots. I mean, witnessing all of that, we might be afraid, man. Like, damn, not afraid, but going to think within ourselves, like, yo, all praise to the Most High, we in these chariots. Because we could have been down there being burnt the hell up by Yahweh Shai. There is men that's in the military right now. I have a brother who's in the military right now. Now, he's not my blood brother, but, I knew him for some time. He knows about the truth. I broke it down to him. But he wants to be in the Marines. So he's in the Marines for a few years now. And he doesn't even realize that they're actually training him to, if he survives all of this, he'll actually be trained to fight against the Lord Yahweh Shai. They might put him in a Space Force. They might say, hey, go over to this region. And he's over there, and he's thinking he's fighting for good old America. Lo and behold, you fight against your Lord, your Creator. And that's going to be happening upon Jake, or to Jake, in these upcoming days, man. When Yahweh Shai returns, man is not realizing they're fighting against their Lord. You're not fighting against a alien invasion. You're fighting against Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai is going to put you all to death. So, Jake, if you're in the military right now, you need to get out of that. That's not for you. Let's get back into it. So we touched on the Battle of Armageddon. Like I said, every topic is not going to be an hour long or extremely in depth. We're going to touch on, I got four more topics after this to touch on, right? We're just basically putting out the order or the chronological order of how these events would take place and when they would take place. So let's get back into it. So we touched on Armageddon, right? If you was a man taking notes, and if you watched the original Cold Cut video, you got the elect being sealed. That's the first thing. You got Jacob's trouble. You got 6 seal cracking open, returning Yahweh Shai, and the elect on the first resurrection, Salakia. You got deliverance of Yasha Allah. You got Armageddon we just touched on. Now we're going to touch on the second wilderness. So let's get into it. Now you got the second wilderness. So you got Jake being beamed up in the chambers and now being brought over to the second wilderness. Now let's get some precepts on this. Let's go to Ezekiel. Let's kick it off with Ezekiel. Salakia. All right. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20. And I'm going to start at verse number 33. Ezekiel 20 and 33. So this second wilderness, after our second Exodus, we're not going to be face to face with Moses. We're not going to be in the wilderness 40 years with Moses. If you waiting on Moses to part the Atlantic Ocean or part the Pacific Ocean or wherever you at, maybe you in South America near the Amazon. You're not waiting for Moses to part the Amazon rainforest. And you out of that. Or you over in, might be in Africa right now, and you waiting for Moses to part the Nile River. That's not what's going on. Moses is not going to part the Red Sea again. We're not dealing with, Moses, Lord willing, going to be in the kingdom, as we know. He's going to be in the kingdom, but we're not going to be face to face with Moses in the second wilderness. We're going to be face to face with Yahweh Shai. So this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20 and verse number 33. Ezekiel 20 and 33. It says, as I live, said the Lord Yahweh, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered, with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. So wherever Israel is at, the Lord is going to pull Jake out or wherever we're dwelling at, man. Whether we over on the East Coast, whether you're on the West Coast, whether you over in Canada, whether you in South America, whether you in China, whether you in Germany, wherever you at, whether you in France, we got Lord willing the WFI UK on a rise, WFI Europe, on a rise soon. But whether you over there, wherever you at, the Lord is going to deliver us out of these different strongholds, these different nations, these different countries that we're dwelling in. And he's going to bring us all to the wilderness. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 11 and verse number 15. Isaiah 11 and 15. I might even start at verse 12 to get the context. Isaiah chapter 11 and verse number 12. It says, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel. So Israel, we're outcasts. We're a laughingstock. We're mocked by the other nations. They look at us and then shake their head and say, this is the daughter of Zion. This is the beauty of the Lord. This is the chosen people. How did we get the chosen people to do crack? How did we get the chosen people to do heroin? Get the mighty daughters of Zion, who once were mighty, but now they shake their damn ass on a stripper pole all damn day and have our Edomite faces all over them. How is this the chosen people? So now we're outcast. We're literally spread abroad. We should be in Israel right now, but we're not in Israel because we went off against our Lord. So let's read on. It says, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. So we not just in America. We're not just in Jersey and Philadelphia and in New York City and Baltimore and damn Queens and Manhattan. We're not just in Chicago. We're not just in Detroit. We're not in Indiana. We're not in Houston. We're not in Cleveland. We're not in Atlanta. We're not, all these different places. We're not just there. We're scattered abroad the four corners of the earth. It tell you that in James 1 and 1, 1 Peter 1 and 1. Let's get 2 Ezra chapter 2 and verse 31. All right, so lock it for these, like I said, I don't want to go too in depth, but the spirit works however it works. So this is 2 Ezra chapter 2 and verse 31. It reads, it says, remember thy children that sleep, for I shall bring them out of the sides of the earth. So we're in the sides of the earth. Let's read on. And show mercy unto them, for I am merciful, said the Lord Almighty. So wherever Israel is at, the Lord is going to scatter us out of the sides of the earth. All right. And we everywhere. We in Chile. We in damn, what the hell is that? You got Ecuador. We all over, man. I try to get exotic with the names. We in Ecuador. We in damn, we in Brazil. We everywhere, man. Israel is everywhere. And that was just Central and South America. We got Costa Rica. You in Jamaica. You in damn Hawaii. You got Jake over in there in Hawaii. Now all Hawaiians are in Jake, but there's some Jake that's over there in Hawaii. Back to Isaiah chapter 11 and verse number 13 now. It says the envy. Well, I'm going to jump down. I'm going to get to the point now. Verse number 15. And the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea. And with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the stream, or smite it in the seven streams, and make men go over dry shod. Now, is this literal? Is the Lord literally going to smite the sea and have us go over the river? And he's going to smite it and part the river 7 ways. Moses parted it 1 way. Yahweh Shai is going to come and part it 7 ways. No, that's not literal. 7 being a number of completion. This is our 7th captivity. When Moses parted the Red Sea, that was our 1st captivity. When Yahweh Shai redeems us, chiefly from America, we're everywhere, but when he redeems us, this is our 7th and final captivity. 7th and final major captivity, I should say. So, therefore, the stream on a spiritual level will be parted 7 different ways. If you got ears to hear. Read it on. And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt. Now, this is not on a literal level neither. There's not a literal highway that no one can see. No one can see this highway. It's on the Pacific Ocean. It's over in the Atlantic Ocean. And the Lord has got the angels out there, damn, night and day, damn, hammering. Got the different tools out there. Got the saw, damn, got the cement, and making a highway for us to come out of the land of Assyria, come out of wherever else we at, and be brought over to Israel. That's not literal. On a spiritual level, we building this highway because we're going out in the highways and byways and sealing the elect. Meaning we're all across the earth right now, sealing the elect so the elect can be sealed, so Jacob's trouble can kick off. And after Jacob's trouble kicks off, you got the sixth seal kicking off. After the sixth seal kicking off, you got Yahweh Shai coming on the scene. After Yahweh Shai come on the scene, you got the deliverance of Yahshua. After deliverance of Yahshua, you got Armageddon, Yahweh Shai against the nations. And after Yahweh Shai against the nations, the battle of Armageddon, you got the second wilderness, where we at right now. All right, so let's go back to Ezekiel. So we touching on the second wilderness. Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse number 35. Ezekiel 20 and 35. It says, and I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. And it's not Yahweh pleading with us face to face, but it's the Lord Yahweh Shai pleading with us face to face. All right, let me get a precept. So, Salakia. Again, we're gonna be with Yahweh Shai face to face in the wilderness. This is what this is talking about. This the book of Salakia, St. John, chapter 14, and I'm gonna start at verse 9. St. John 14 and verse 9. I started at verse 8. Right? St. John 14 and 8. If you thought it was gonna be with Yahweh face to face, because there's a lot of I know you. You know, it says 16 people is live, but maybe one, maybe even two, might even be a Negro only. And if you Negro, or not even Negro only, but Old Testament only. And if you Old Testament only, that means you don't believe in Yahweh Shai. So you wouldn't believe that this is Yahweh Shai being with us face to face in the wilderness. But it is. It's not Yahweh. You are sorely mistaken. This is the book of St. John, chapter 14 and verse 8. It says, Philip said unto him, Lord, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us. Yahweh Shai said unto him, have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that has seen me has seen the Father, and how sayest thou then, show us the Father? He said, look, if you didn't see me, then you didn't see the Father. How you then gonna ask, hey, show us the Father? And you know, I'm with you face to face. No man is going to be able to go to the Father, right, but by Yahweh Shai. No man. This is the book of St. John, chapter 14 and verse number 6. It says, Yahweh Shai said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. So you can't go and meet Yahweh face to face. You kind of looking at Yahweh and you damn cracking jokes with the Most High God. Face to face. That's off, man. That's not happening. We're unclean. The Lord said even the angels are unclean, right, in the heavens. Paraphrasing in the book of Job. So how much more man, right? Which the Lord said our righteousness is as filthy rags. We're an unclean thing in the eyes of the Lord. That's what we need, Yahweh Shai. So, you know, again, we're not going to be face to face. We're not going to be face to face with the Most High God. All right. Salakia. All right. You know, that's plain. Let me get one precept on this. This is the book of, oh, hold on. Bear with me 1 second. All right, I'll start here. This is the book of St. John, chapter 12, and I'm going to start at verse 25. I believe that's what I want. St. John, chapter 12, and verse number 25. It reads, he that loveth his life shall lose it, and he that hateth his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. If any man serve me, let him follow me. And where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Father honor. Right? That's not what I want. Right? But the point is, nevertheless, again, we're not going to be face to face with the Most High God. All right? And that's plain. Right? There's countless precepts to show you. Let me get another precept. Let's go to Colossians real quick. Right? The Lord is the image of the invisible God. Right? It's Colossians chapter 1 and verse number 15. It says, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. So the Lord is the image of Yahweh. Right? So again, when we see Yahweh Shai, that's the same as if we were seeing the Lord Yahweh. Right? Now you had Daniel, you had John, St. John the Divine, who saw, you know, a vision and recorded the vision of the Most High God, but they never saw his face directly. All right. You know that, you know, That's just not going to happen. So let's go back to the book of Ezekiel, the 20th chapter, and verse number 35. So now you know that we're going to be in the wilderness with Yahweh Shai. This is Ezekiel 20 and verse 36. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, said the Lord Yahweh. And I will cause you to pass under the rod and will bring you into the bond of the covenant. Right? So let's read that again, verse 37. And I will cause you to pass under the rod and will bring you into the bond of the covenant. So when we're in the wilderness, that's when the law will be placed in our inward parts. All right? Let's go to the book of Hebrews. So only in the wilderness, that's when the law will be placed in us. We'll pass under the rod. It says we'll pass under the rod and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant, meaning you're going to be initiated into the new covenant. The new covenant, once Yahweh Shai gave up, the spirit, right, and died for us, right, that kicked off the new covenant. But man is not in the new covenant right now. We can't be in the new covenant because it's going to tell you in the book of Hebrews, the 8th chapter, what exactly the new covenant entails. What's this new contract? We're not there yet, right? We're making our way out of the old covenant, but we're not fully in the new covenant just yet. So this is Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 8. It reads, Hebrews 8 and 8. For finding fault with them, he said, behold, the days come, said Yahweh, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continue not in my covenant. Right? You read the book of Exodus, the 24th chapter, verses 6 on down, or 4 on down for real, or how Moses, the Most High God, through Moses, right, took the blood of the bullocks, the blood of the rams, sprinkling on the covenant and sprinkling upon the children of Israel, and how we were enjoined into that covenant. The only way you can get out of that covenant is by bloodshed. The only way to be, for these covenants, the Lord initiate these covenants with bloodshed. So Yahweh Shai died for us to not only redeem us out of the old covenant, but also to bring us into the new covenant and kick this thing off. Now we got to offer up sacrifices because Yahweh Shai died for us. All right, let's read on. It says, where we at? Verse number 10. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind. So you can't be in the new covenant right now because the law is not in your mind. If the law was in your mind, you won't have to repent. What are you repenting for? You keeping the law perfectly. Everything you do is perfect, right? You're not going to die because the law makes you live forever. It's eternal, right? You're not going to think upon wicked thoughts because the law, right, is going to defeat all that. It's going to overcome all that, right? So we're not in the new covenant right now. If you get, there's brothers that are saying that we're in the new covenant. If we're in the covenant, the new covenant, you better not die. Because a part of the new covenant is for us to get the same bodies as Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai, he's not going to die. He's not going to live 1,000 years and then die in the kingdom. And there's a new Yahweh Shai that has to rise up. That's madness, wickedness, perverseness. The Lord told you, let's hold this real quick. Come back to this. Let's go to Philippians. So a part of this new covenant, you're going to get the law in your inward part. And it's going to make you live forever. This is the book of Philippians, chapter 3 and verse number 21. It says, who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body? So these things are going to happen in the wilderness. When man gets a new covenant, we're going to be in our glorious body. Let's read on. It says, according to the working whereby he is able even to subdue all things to himself. So again, he's going to change our vile body that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body. We're going to have the same body as Yahweh Shai. If Yahweh Shai is not going to die in the wilderness, he's going to have a beautiful, glorious body. We'll have the same beautiful, glorious body. Let's go to 1 John. Another precept that show you we're going to have the same body as Yahweh Shai. This is 1 John chapter 3 and verse number 2. It says, beloved, now are we the sons of Yahweh, and it doeth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, when Yahweh Shai shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. We're going to be just like the Lord Yahweh Shai. And that's what we're striving for, to be like Yahweh Shai. Right? We want to be like our creator. We want to be like Yahweh by Shem Mashah, like Yahweh Shai. We want to be perfect. We don't want to sin. We don't want to go to hell off. We don't want these wicked thoughts to override our body and then cause it to go off with perverse thoughts. We don't want that. Right? We want to be perfect. Don't you want to be perfect? All 14 or 15 brothers and sisters that's watching this, don't you want to be perfect? To be perfect, you got to make it to that wilderness. And you got to get the law in your inward part. So now you got to be on fire to make it call like shore so that you're not burned up when them chariots come or burned up when them nukes hit the ground and that you're a part of being delivered to the wilderness. All right, so that's how you be perfect. This 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse number 50. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Yahweh. So this body, we can't get into the kingdom with this body alone. Now we are the kingdom of heaven. And that's why we got to kill the old man, mortify our members, like I tell you in Colossians 3 and 5, in the book of, well, I'm going to leave right there, Colossians 3 and 5. We want to mortify our members, and we want to try to be more perfect each and every day. Right? We want to damn put away the old man and kill that man. You see that man in the mirror, you want to look him face to face, and you want to slaughter him if you got ears to hear. Let's read on. It says that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. Neither do corruption inherit incorruption. So these corruptible bodies, you can't inherit an incorruptible crown, an incorruptible lifestyle. To be incorruptible, meaning you're going to live forever. All right? Meaning you can never be corrupted. You can't allow no damn COVID, damn overcome your body. Your damn tonsils are swollen. Your damn stomach is aching. You can't, none of that, man. Damn flu going out. They got something called a monkey flu or monkeypox. That's a new pestilence in the earth. And those men, women, and children that's in those spiritual bodies, they won't have to worry about no monkeypox. Ain't no monkeypox going to overcome the children of Israel when we have our glorious bodies. Verse 51, behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, meaning everyone won't have to die for this thing. But we shall all be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. How are we going to be changed? Because our mortal body is going to put out that mortal and put on that immortal. To be mortal meaning you can die. To be immortal meaning you cannot die. I am the prefix meaning not. So mortal being die, immortal is not dying. Immortality, everlasting life. Not 1,000 years, not a damn millennium. You got a millennial reign in the kingdom, and then you die. And Peter give up the ghost, and John, the Revelator, give up the ghost. And there's this new John. His son takes over. Peter's son takes over. David, he dies in the kingdom. Yahweh dies in the kingdom. That's off, man. So you gotta beware of brothers saying you only gonna live for 1,000 years. All right, leave right there. Verse 53. It says, "For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality." Right. So when this corruptible shall put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. Meaning we're not going to die in the kingdom. That's going to be swallowed up. It tell you that in Isaiah 25 and 8. In the book of Hosea, the 13th chapter. We're going to overcome death, and it's never going to, overcome us again. All right. So back to Ezekiel. Or it's like back to Hebrews. Hebrews, the 8th chapter. So that's what's going to take place when you had a law placed in your inward part. Right, in your body. All right, when you have the law placed within yourself, all right, in your mind, you're gonna be serving the Most High God perfectly. You're not gonna be going to hell off. You're not gonna think wicked thoughts. You're not gonna be backsliding and back in the world. That's not that. You're not gonna be moonwalking and you slip up and you come back with the new covenant in you. That's not gonna happen, and that's only gonna take place in the wilderness, in the physical wilderness. Back to Hebrews chapter 8 and verse. Where we left off at, verse number 10. I'm going to read that again. Verse 10. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days. What's after those days? After the great tribulation. Like I tell you about in Jeremiah, the 30th chapter. Matthew, the 24th chapter, verse 29 on down. Or really 15 on down. Right? The book of 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. That's the great tribulation. That's after those days. Meaning when all hell is breaking loose. Right? And after that, even the time of the 6th seal, even the time of the 7th seal. Reading on. It says, I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts. And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not, so like, I'm gonna read that again. And I will put my laws in their mind and write them in their hearts. Meaning it's gonna be ingrained in you. Your spirit is now going, you're now gonna have a spiritual body, and you're gonna be solely joined with the law of the Lord. So you're not gonna have to repent and go off and offer a sacrifice and do this all over again. That's not gonna happen. That's the time of the end. The law gonna be in you, and that's that. Verse 11, and they shall not teach every man his neighbor. So this is how you know we're not in a new covenant right now. Because for one, again, the law is not in us. And for two, we still have to go teach our brothers and sisters who they are. This is a book title to this is a letter to the Hebrews. Why don't the Hebrews know they're Hebrews today? If we're all in new covenant. We all in the New Testament, brother. It's just, we're not in the old covenant no more. We don't got to deal with that. You don't got the understanding. If you really think we're in a new covenant right now, then you gotta examine yourself. Repent. Go fast. Ask for discernment. Let's read on. It says, verse 11, and they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. What does it mean from the least to the greatest? Every one of the nation of Israel, they will know the Lord. Every one of the nation of Israel right now in 2021, November 18th, 2021 AD, everyone will know the Lord. To know the Lord is to keep the Lord's commandments. That's 1 John 2 and 3. If the law is going to be placed in you, you're going to be automatically keeping the commandments of the Lord. Not having to think about keeping the commandments of the Lord. Not having to, be in the world, repent, come out of the world, and be converted. That's not going to happen. I don't know what this is right here. It's kind of... All right, so, we're not in a new covenant right now. And that's plain. So, like, give me 1 second. All right. So, do I have any other precepts on that? Let's go to Hosea, the 2nd chapter real quick. All right, Hosea chapter 2. Let's bring this up. Hosea, the 2nd chapter. All right. So, like, this is the book of Hosea, chapter 2. Man, gotta be quick on the sword. Hosea chapter 2 and verse number 15. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. So the Lord said he's going to allure us. He's alluring us right now. How is he alluring us? Because he brought us into this truth, right? On a spiritual level, you're not even going to make that because Jake can get corny. But this Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse number 4, right? This is how the Lord allured us. Hey, through the Spirit, I allured you to hop on this video. This is Song of Solomon 1 and 4. Draw me, we will run after thee. To draw someone is to call someone. In the world, they call it the cat call. Well, the Lord on the right-hand side, he did a so-called cat call and allured us to come back to him. Now we in this truth, he's going to allure us now to go to the wilderness. I mean, he's going to draw us or direct us or appoint us where to go and what to do. This Song of Solomon 1 and 4. Draw me, we will run after thee. The king had brought me into the chambers, into his chambers. We will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine, the upright love thee. So the Lord is going to draw us and has been drawing us, calling us to come back home, sending his prophets night and day laboring to call us and tell us to come back home, right? The videos, the different prophecies, the different breakdowns, that's all things that's been alluring us to come back to the Lord. Now, with that same token, we're also going to be brought over to the wilderness. That wilderness, is most likely, it didn't reveal exactly where we'll be at, but most likely it's going to be leading up to the land of Israel, right? Originally, we were in the wilderness for 40 years. That was through the hardest of our hearts. We're going to be with Yahweh Shai. There's going to be a lot of purging going on in the wilderness. We're going to go back to Ezekiel, right, to touch on that. But there's going to be purging going on. Men, women, and children that's not getting down and submitting to the Lord, they're going to be destroyed and devoured in the wilderness. All right? So, again, we got to go back to the wilderness. Now, this is not talking about Tanzania. It's not Tanzania. It's not talking about Ghana. It's not talking about... Let's kind of pull this up. Let's see what other nations is over there. Other countries. Because, for some reason, everybody wants to go back to Africa. They just love Africa for some reason. The Lord not dealing with the land of Ham. We're going to be back over there, you damn right, when we got that land, when we taking over, after the second wilderness. So, I'm going to just pull this up. Now, you can't see it, but I'm going to just, list a few of these. So, you got Tanzania, you got Kenya, you got Uganda, you got Rwanda, you got Democratic Republic of the Congo. Do the Lord want us to go over there? Is that the wilderness? Is Somalia, is that the wilderness? Is it Zimbabwe and Madagascar? Is it Ethiopia or Sudan? Come on, man. You gotta be. Are we gonna be back in the land of Egypt? We gotta physically go back into Egypt, and then we wait for Moses to part the Red Sea. We're gonna cross over and start making our way to Israel and be in the wilderness for 40 years. Are we gonna be in Saudi Arabia or Yemen? No, man. All right, so that's not we don't have to leave and pack up right now, because the Lord not dealing with that. There's a time we literally reading the precepts to show you the Lord is going to bring us over there, not for us to go there right now and be in Kenya and Tanzania and Uganda and start building up, our own community over there. The Israelite Wall Street 2.0. The Lord don't want that. We slaves. Remember, we still slaves right now. We slaves to society. We slaves to the damn so-called white man, right, rolling over us. Jake got to work all different types of jobs or have businesses. And even that don't even provide a damn thing compared to the rent you got to pay, everything you got to pay for. You might have to buy some Pampers. You might need some wipes. Hey, there's a lot of different things we're dealing with in this captivity, man, because we're in captivity. Don't mean you can go to Tanzania and not be in captivity anymore. Or Uganda and Ghana and damn Rwanda and so on and so forth. All them damn names. All right? So this is where we at. We over here in America right now. We over here in China. We over in damn Australia. We over in France. We over in Italy. Wherever we at, that's where the Lord wants us at. And we're going to be gathered up out of these different places and brought over to the wilderness. All right? Let's go to Isaiah. Well, I already got that. Let's go back to Ezekiel. All right, because, I kind of went over a precept, but I paraphrased it, but we're going to go into it because the Lord is going to plead with us. And I didn't want to go in depthly on this. I made it a year ago, and other brothers have made second wilderness breakdowns, maybe even on this WFI backup channel, but I know for sure on the Cold Cutz channel. So if you want a complete in-depth breakdown on a second wilderness and all the events that's going to take place in-depthly, go to YouTube, look up Cold Cutz channel, and type up the second wilderness. All right, so again, we got plenty of videos on that, but we don't want to spend much more time on this. We're just going to touch on this last point. This is Ezekiel 20 and verse number 38. So this is after the new covenant. And I will purge out from among you the rebels. So in the wilderness, men is going to be put in the new covenant is going to be put in certain men and women and children, and others going to be purged out. Meaning what? Killed. You're going to be killed in the wilderness if you're not acting right. If it's ultimately for the Lord just to lift you up and allow you to be in the chariots, to experience escaping Babylon for a season, and just to be brought over there to be destroyed. That's a way to go out right there. You didn't thought you made it. You didn't escape Babylon. You in the chariots. You saying Kwam Yashala, Kwam Yashala, Kwam, kind of in the damn chariots going crazy, man. And then along and behold, you get to the wilderness and you bucking up against the Lord. Eve, you're not being submissive to the Lord. Men, you being prideful and puffed up against your creator. You're going to be destroyed. All right, so this is Ezekiel 20 and 33 or 38. And I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. And I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh. And we know this is going to be so. Because if this is second wilderness, doesn't mean exactly everything that happened during the first wilderness will happen during the second wilderness. It's not just going to be Joshua and Caleb that's going to make it. But we can use that as a point to show you that during the time of the first wilderness, Only Joshua and Caleb made it to the land of Israel. Out of all those men, out of all those Israelites, hey, even Moses didn't make it to the land of Israel. Only Joshua and Caleb. All right. So this is the book of Jude, this is Jude verse 5. Jude verse 5. And I would therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this, how that Yahweh, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believe not. So if you in the wilderness and you don't believe in the Lord, you're going to be destroyed. Best believe that. All right. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. Maybe the Lord will allow you to repent in the wilderness. Look, you're going to be destroyed. You don't believe in the Lord. It is what it is. The judgment is written. So now let's touch on the next major event after that. So again, you got Armageddon. In this video, you got Armageddon, the second wilderness. Now we're going to touch on the battle of Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38 and Ezekiel 39. Now we're not going to go too in-depthly on this one. Not going to go too in-depthly on this one. Again, like I mentioned, there's different breakdowns that's going to go in-depthly. This is not that. If you're tuning into it, this is not that. Right? We're just tackling a different order of events that's going to take place, major prophecies, and we're going to list the different precepts you can go to, right, for edification. Right? But we're also going to instruct you, like I mentioned, to go to other brothers made breakdowns on this. We got plenty. We got a plethora. I exhort you and encourage you to watch other breakdowns. Second wilderness, battle of Gog and Magog, the elect being sealed, Jacob's trouble, the fifth seal, the sixth seal, the seventh seal. Go in depthly into those breakdowns. But we're not about to spend an hour each topic. We're not about to do that through the Spirit. Now, this is Ezekiel chapter 38. So after the elect is purged out, or it's like not the elect being purged out, but after the elect gets the new covenant and the rebels are purged out in the wilderness, then you're going to have something known as the battle of Gog and Magog, the final battle, right? This is Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse number 1. It says, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Now, I might not turn my screen, but nevertheless, I'm going to look up on a blue letter really quickly about this land of, it says Gog, the land of Magog. How do we know this is going into Russia and its allies? Going into Russia, Turkey, and its allies. How do we know this? Well, we got to go into it. So, you got to study. You can't just regurgitate what other brothers tell you. You got to go into this thing. You got to know for your own sake. So when you literally go into the blue letter, and I pulled it up, I don't even know if I can reverse my camera. All right, let me see if I can do that. I actually can. Bear with me 1 second. So I'm going to reverse my camera for the sake of this. Actually, I'm going to pull it up first. Bear with me 1 second. All right. Slack it. All right, so we got this pulled up. Now, it says, okay, there we go. All right, so let me pull this up. And I'm gonna reverse my camera. So we pull it up on a, damn, I don't know if y'all normally can see this. I'm gonna go back again. So this is Ezekiel 38. We pull it up on a blue letter. You're gonna kind of go down here. You're gonna click on Ezekiel 38 and verse 2. Clicked on that. We're gonna reverse lineary. I believe that's how you pronounce it. We're gonna scroll down. We're gonna find the word we want. So you got Gog right there, but you got Magog. Let's click this. Magog. Now Magog is the land of Gog. Now it's a second son of Japheth, because this land was actually appointed to Japheth. You read about that in the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter. Right? Now it says the mountains or mountainous, it's like a mountainous region beyond Cappadocia and Media, and habitation of the descendants of Magog, son of Japheth and grandson of Noah. Now when you scroll on down, it says, now it literally says, let's go up to it. It says Cappadocia and Media Compare with Genesis 10 and 2, which reads, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Medea, Javan, Tubal, and Meshech and Tyrus. These were the original lands that was given to Japheth. But we understand that, I believe we mentioned this earlier, when Alexander had conquered and overcome these different lands, these different kingdoms of the earth, like you read about in First Maccabees, the first chapter, you can literally witness his rise in a vast empire that he took over. And all the lands that was previously under Japhetic rule, right? The different Japhite descendants and whatnot, like Magog, Javan, Tubal, these were all taken over, and they were Hellenized as well. You can look those things up. You can really look up the Hellenization of the so-called people of the Gentiles of the sea. There's videos and breakdowns on YouTube, like historical breakdowns that you can check out on your own time. But nevertheless, it says this is known as North and East Armenia. Now I'm going to pull up North and East Armenia. And we're going to see where this is at today. All right, so we got to go win this thing sometimes. Now, again, I don't have the StreamYard set up, so you got to just bear with me. But this is Armenia. So you got Georgia, you got Turkey, you got Armenia. Where is this by? What land is this? This is going into Russia. So you got the so-called Russian, Russia is right here. Russia's located right here. This is China, right? You got so-called Asia, right? Let's kind of look at it some more. And again, Salakia for the way this got to be, but it is what it is. You can kind of look this thing up your own time. All right. Oh, this is the old names. But the point is though, this is literally going into that region that was originally given to Japheth, but today is considered Armenia, which is, hand in hand with Russia and these different regions right here. So we're going to actually go back into this. All right. So back to this, Salakia. Now, again, these mountains are present-day Turkey and a so-called Far East. Some even associated this name of Meshech, Tubal, so on and so forth, Gog and Magog, with Russia today. Salakia. All right, so let's read again. It says, Son of man, set thy face against God, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus said the Lord God, Behold, I'm against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Now, even, I'm actually look this up too, because when you do go into this, I believe, give me 1 second. When you go into this, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, this is going to, bear with me 1 second. All right. This is going into the land chiefly of Russia, right? So-called Asia Minor. All right, you can, now I just pulled it up as well, so we can go back to it again. Right, so now we go into Tubal. Again, this is originally a son of Japheth, right? Grandson of Noah. It says a region in East Asia Minor, perhaps nearly equivalent to Cappadocia, right? So this land of so-called Asia Minor is going into Turkey and the different allies of Turkey and the different borders, because Turkey is right by the border of so-called Slovakia, right by the borders of so-called Russia. And we know Russia, through the prophecy that we read earlier in Revelation 13 and 2 and 2nd Ezra, the 12th chapter, 11th and 12th chapter, going into Russia being the last ruling nation, right, for Esau. So this is what is taking place right now. So let's read on. It says, read on, verse number 4. And I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth. When the Lord says he's going to put hooks in their jaws, it's not literally he's going to go out fishing. He has his big old fishing rod from the third heavens, and he's actually fishing and putting hooks in their jaws. To put hooks in someone's jaws on a spiritual level is just to say he's going to force them to be brought over and gathered together against us. And they're going to think that he can overcome the nation of Israel because our walls won't be built up. We're not fortified. They literally think they could just come over and overcome us, and they can reset the earth and be back into, they can keep the earth under their control. Let's read on though. And I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. It's going to tell you who. It says Persia. Persia is a modern day Iranians. Is not Iran joined hand in hand with the so-called Russians today? Let's pull this up. So it said Persia. So you got Gog, Magog, Meshech, Tubal going into Russia, its allies, which is Turkey. We're going to go into some more. So Persia. Now let's go into let's go into this Iran-Russian treaty real quick, which has different names. All right, let's pull this thing up. Now, they have military relations. So let's pull this up. I'm going to reverse the camera. So again, dang, look at this. Man, the Lord don't play games. So this is the Iran-Russian relations. It says relations between the Grand Duchy of Moscow and the Persian Empire, and it puts in quotes, Iran, officially commenced in 1521. All right. So these things, they've been, joining hand in hand. This thing, it says it officially commenced in 1521. And you can look at all the different, things on it, all the different trades and deals and whatnot. But we want to get into the deal and their different agreement that they have today in so-called 2021. Now, let's pull this up if we can find it. Let's go back. All right. So they have something known as the Collective Security Treaty Organization. Let's pull this up. Collective. Bear with me. Collective Security Treaty Organization. Which is, let's pull it up. All right. So you want to get in this thing. All right. It's not trying to show me much on this article. We'll go back. There we go. Kind of got it right there. All right. So this is important to get down with. So it's literally going to show you all the different nations that's in this so-called Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is basically say, if one of them go to war, we all going to back each other up. So that's why it mentioned Persia, because you got Russia, and I'm sure probably the ones that's highlighted. So you got Russia, right? You got whatever that name is. You got Uzbekistan. These are all the different allies. You got Georgia right here. You got so-called Turkey right there, right? So on and so forth, right? Russia is joined hand in hand with all these different kings of the earth, or kings of the East, and they join to each other so they can go to war against America. So again, Russia and Iran, right there, they're together. So let's go back to it. Let's continue this off. Finish this off. All right, so Ezekiel. We in Ezekiel again. Ezekiel 38 and verse 5. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. All of them with shield and helmet. So they're going to try to come against us, right? All of them. It says Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, right? Verse 6. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Tagomer, of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. So these different nations, the so-called nations of the so-called North Country, they're going to try to join and go against Israel, man. Let's get a precept real quick to show you that Russia is known as the North Country, right? It mentioned the North Quarters, which is going into the North Country. So this is the book of Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah chapter 51, I believe I want to go to. Jeremiah 51, and I'm going to start at verse number, Jeremiah 51, and I'm going to start at verse number 24. Jeremiah 51, I'm going to start at verse 24. And I'm going to jump down. Jeremiah 51:24. It says, and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, said the Lord. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, said Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth. Right? We know America has destroyed all the earth, right? Literally polluting the ozone layer, literally going into different nations and overcoming them and doing whatever they want to do on the earth. It says, which destroyeth all the earth, and will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll thee from the mountains and will make thee a burned mountain. Right? So that's what's going to happen to America. Verse number 27. Set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpets among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, many, and Ashkenaz, appoint a captain against her, cause the horses, which is their different aircraft, so-called aircraft, to come up as the rough pillars or caterpillars. Verse 28. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes. Then these kings of the Medes is going into Russia, right? But we're going to read on. It's like with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitant. So the Lord in these coming days, he's going to destroy America and allow America to be destroyed by Russia, which is known as the Medes. And the reason why they're known as the Medes is the same way as it was prophesied for the Medes, the Persian and the Medes, to overcome Babylon. Same thing is going to happen with Russia overcoming Russia and its allies, Iran, to overcome the modern day Babylon, so-called Babylon the Great. All right, let's get another precept. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50. Leave on Jeremiah 50, and I'm going to start at verse Slakia. Jeremiah 50. Actually, I want Jeremiah 51. I'm going to go to Jeremiah 51 and verse number 11. All right, Jeremiah 51:11. It says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes for his devices against Babylon, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord. Salakia, is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. Right, so the Lord right now is stirring up again America to be destroyed by Russia and the different allies thereof, and for them to be overcome. All right. So these things is happening, these things are prophesied to happen, and they're going to be kicking off in the earth. But nevertheless, there's going to come a time period where Russia and the different allies are going to think within themselves to come up against the nation of Israel, and they try to overcome us and destroy us. But that's not going to be so. All right, so let's go to the book of Micah, the 5th chapter. So just when they think they can overcome the children of Israel, that's not going to happen. This is Micah chapter 5, and I'm going to start at I'm going to get right to the point. Verse 3. Micah chapter 5, verse 3. Therefore will he give them up unto the time that she which travaileth had brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren, talking about of Yahushai's brethren, Israel, shall return unto the children of Israel, and he shall stand that he is Yahushai. It tells you in the first verse, right? But read on. It says, and he shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord, and the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they shall abide. For now shall he be great unto the ends of the earth, and this man shall be the peace. Right? Yahushua will be our peace, our savior, right? To redeem us and allow us not to be destroyed by these different nations, right? And fight against Gog, Magog, Gomer, Persia, which is today Russia, Iran, right? Turkey, and the different allies thereof. Let's read on. It says, and they shall abide, for now shall he be great on the ends of the earth, and his man shall be the king, shall be the prince. Hold on, Slocky, I'm going off. Bear with me. Micah chapter 5, verse 5. And this man shall be the peace when the Assyrian shall come into our land. Now, this is going into a future prophecy. The Assyrians won't actually be ruling during this time. The Assyrian the Lord is talking about of a man of power, a man of strength. We know that the Lord likened Adam, the chosen Adam, as an Assyrian in the book of Ezekiel, the 31st chapter. But the so-called white man, he's also likened to Assyrian because he's the one that's the Lord has a great indignation upon. It's going to tell you that. This is Isaiah chapter 10 and verse number 5. It says, O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. So again, this is not literally talking about the Assyrian man, but the so-called white man. The Lord has great hatred against him every day. Let's go to Psalm the 7th chapter. Right, Psalm chapter 7 and verse number 11. Psalm 7 and verse 11. It says, Yahweh judgeth the righteous, and Yahweh is angry with the wicked every day. So every day the Lord is angry against the so-called white man, against the wicked rulers of the earth, chiefly, right, of Esau. Right? The Lord says he's angry with the wicked every day. It says, verse 12, if he turn not, he will whet his sword. He had bent his bow and made it ready. He had also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained his arrows against the persecutors. So the Lord is literally getting these nations prepared to wipe out each other, chiefly all these Edomite nations, so they can all be destroyed, man. So that Israel can rise up and we can be brought back in our land, and we can rule, grab the heathen up, bring them back to our land, and rule forever and ever. Let's get another precept to show you that the so-called white man, the Lord has great hatred against him, and that he has to be that Assyrian in Micah the 5th chapter. Let's get another precept. All right, let's go to the book of Salakia. Let's go to the book of Psalm the 17th chapter. Because again, in Isaiah 10 and 5, it says, O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger. And we know that the Lord used the so-called white man to smite our judge. We'll get that precept, to smite our judge, Yahweh in Zechariah 13 and 7. Right, he's getting us in order right now. The Lord uses the so-called white man to rule over us. He's the sword of the Lord. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 17, and verse number 13. It says, arise. It says, arise, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword, from men which are thy hand, O Yahweh, from men of the world. So again, the so-called white man, he's a sword of the Lord. He's the man of the Lord's hand, meaning he's the man that the Lord is now executing judgment with, and allowing him to go through, stir the nations up, get the nations upset, and fight against each other, even of our own nation. It says, which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy head treasure. They are full of children, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. How could that not be talking about the so-called white man? All right, that can't be talking about anyone else but the white man, but Esau. So back to Micah chapter 5. Actually, let me get another precept. Let's get another precept to show you, linking it all up. Again, that the Assyrian, he's the rod of the Lord's indignation or anger. And we linked it up. We showed you the precepts to show you that, okay, the Lord uses so-called white man. He's angry with them every day. He uses them to get the nations in order. That's Psalm 17 and 13. He's the sword of the Lord. We also going to get this too. This is Zechariah chapter 13. All right. So everything's not plain upon tables. You got to link it up. That's what the Lord literally said. Precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. This is Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 7. It says, awake, O sword, against my shepherd. Right, and the shepherd of the Lord is Yahweh. So the so-called white man, he arose against the Lord. Read about the book of Matthew, the 27th chapter. Right, what they did to Yahweh. Pontius Pilate and his goons. Right, them Romans. And against the man that is my fellow, said the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, which they did. They smote Yahweh. Right, they killed the Lord in the flesh. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. And that's what happened. Yahweh dying in 33 AD. Afterwards, Paul out there doing a ministry in the 60s AD, but 66 to 73 AD, right, the final battle, the Fort Masada. From there on, we've been scattered. We're on the four corners of the earth right now. So this prophecy came to pass. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered, and I will turn my hand upon the little ones. Right, and that's happening right now. So back to Micah chapter 5 and verse number 4. Verse 5. And this man shall be the peace when the Assyrian shall come into our land, and when he shall tread in our palaces. Then shall we rise against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. Now these 7 shepherds and 8 principal men is going to a portion of the elect that's going to be sent out as hunters in that day. But not only that, of course, the angels and Yahweh Shai fighting against these other nations and destroying them. The Lord told you that, and we don't bring this precept out for no reason. But this is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse number 25 or 20. Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 20. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations. When would this take place? Is it going to happen right now? Is it going to happen when we got to hunt the other nations down to put them in captivity? Yeah, just right before that, during the battle of Gog and Magog, when they're trying to come up against us, we're going to put them all to flight, right? And that's when all the precepts will start rolling out of us and the Lord teaching our hands to war and destroying the other nations. It says, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. All right. So that's plain. So back to Micah chapter 5 and verse. Now we in verse. Well, that's really it on that. I'll read verse 6 real quick though. It says, and they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod and the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders. And the land of Nimrod is going into Mesopotamia. As they're coming to wherever they're coming from, chiefly from the north of Israel, they're going to try to come down and invade us, and we're going to overthrow them and destroy them, and they're going to be scattered, and we're going to hunt them down, grab them back up, put a yoke of iron upon their neck, and bring them back to Israel. So that leads us directly into the next major prophecy, is that after this, we're going to be hunting the nations and turn them into slaves, right? So let's go to Jeremiah 16 and 16. All right, Jeremiah chapter 16 and verse 16. We got one more after this. Jeremiah 16 and 16. It says, behold, I will send for many fishers, said the Lord, and they shall fish them. So right now we're out there on the highways and byways fishing for the Lord. We got our spiritual fishing poles out. We got our spiritual bucket hats, if you got ears to hear. We got the damn toolbox with all the different ornaments and things you want to use to go out there and fish catch the fish. We got our spiritual net out there, and we just waiting. We're going to be out there in just a few hours. Brothers all across the earth right now is out there teaching day and night, week after week, Shabbat after Shabbat, and edifying the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and helping sow the elect by fishing them wherever Israel is scattered at. So again, it says, behold, I will send for many fishers, said Yahweh, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. So these mountains and these hills is going into the nations. Israel in that day will be exalted above every other mountain or hill, which is every other nation. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2. It shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. So it shows you the mountains is chief nations, and the hills are smaller nations, and every other nation on the earth, they're going to flow into Israel. Meaning they're going to come get the word from the Lord's chosen people. Now, with that being said, we're going to go out and go hunt them. We're going to grab them up. We're going to beat on the white man. And we got countless breakdowns on this, so we're not going to go too in-depthly. But you already know, we hear about it every Shabbat on how we're going to grab up the nations and bring them right back to Israel. And they're going to build up the kingdom. Let's get another precept. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 24 and verse number 22. All right. This is Isaiah 24 and 22. And they shall be gathered. I started verse 21. Isaiah 24 and 21. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. And they shall be gathered together, as prisoners are gathered in the pit. So we're going to grab them up just like you would grab prisoners up, man. And they can't buck up and say, no, please. No, no, stop, please. I was just playing. You know, I didn't really want to be wicked. The Lord made me that way. They got to deal with it. So they're going to be grabbed up and they're going to be eternally in hell. Their hell is picking cotton. Their hell is making damn vineyards for brothers. Their hell is fighting against each other in damn fights like they did to us back in the day. They made us fight against each other. Damn, take our damn eyeball out. Damn, the same thing, they got the UFC today. The same thing was happening back in the day, man. Right? Go and watch the movie Jenga. Go and watch all these other countless so-called slave movies, man, of Jake fighting against each other and the things they did to Jake and the tortures and torments. How much more these nations, when we get our true judgment back on them, when we can get our vengeance back on all these other nations, all the ungodly. So let's read on. It says, and shall be shut up in a prison, and after many days shall they be visited. And even specifically on Django, they kind of put his wife, they had her in this little box. And she was naked, and it was hot as hell in that box, man. And the first thing they did, they threw a bucket of water on her. So she in there steaming and hot as hell and dehydrated and finished. And they threw a bucket of water on her. How much more are we going to do to the other nations, man? All right, really got to meditate upon that. Because the Lord is going to allow us to get vengeance upon our heathen. Right, let me get a precept. Right, it's a classic precept, but we're going to get it nevertheless. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 2 and verse number 8. It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Why don't they read this in church? This is the second psalm in the 8th verse. You know, it literally just told you we're going to get the Lord said, ask of me, and I'm going to give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. So we're going to possess not only the earth, but also the heathen forever. It's not going to be a, damn, you know, why are we doing this to Ham? Why are we doing this to Ammon? Why are we doing this to Japheth? No, we're going to destroy them forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And they're going to be our servants forever and ever. Right? And then Esau is going to try to, he's going to try to do what he's going to try to do. They got to be eradicated. Straight up eradicated. You know, off the face of the earth. After a dispensation of time. A so-called 1,000 years. So, let's get another precept on this, man. All right. So they got to build up the kingdom. So again, if you're taking notes, you got Armageddon. You got the second wilderness. You got the battle with Gog and Magog. You got a hunting season or hunting down the slaves and bringing the slaves, and they're going to rebuild the kingdom. That's the portion we're in right now. All right, so let's go to Isaiah 60. So they got to build this thing up. Then we build up America in Scotland and Britain and Russia. We built these places up. We were slaves all over, Jake. If you didn't know this, you built the Great Wall of China. Go look that up. It wasn't Moabites out there putting brick and mortar with their backs all jammed up. That was you. That was your forefathers. So how much more the other nations? They gotta deal with it, man. Everybody got their time under the sun. Except our time gonna be forever. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, and verse number 10. I start at verse 9. It's mighty. Isaiah 60 and 9. All right. It says, surely the owl shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far, their silver and their gold with them, unto the name of the Lord thy God, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he had glorified thee. Right, so we're going to be glorified. And all the other nations, they're going to bring silver and gold and all their different treasures yearly and bring them up to Israel. They gotta give us everything. Everything they got, we got to have. Verse number 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So the Lord said, the sons of the strangers are going to build up our walls. Let's read about the walls. Glock here. Lord willing, we still on this thing. All right. Phone about to die soon. But nevertheless, let's read about the walls, right? The walls that we're going to have in the kingdom. So this is the book of Tobit, chapter 13, and I'm going to start at verse number 8. Tobit 13 and 8. Let all men speak, and let all praise him for his righteousness. O Jerusalem, the holy city, he will scourge. So I guess where I'm started. I'm gonna read on now. It says, he will scourge thee for thy children's works, and will have mercy again on the sons of the righteous. So the Lord is gonna build us back up. He's gonna have mercy upon us, right? Because the Lord bestowed everlasting mercy to our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And as long as we turn and repent right now, we can both be enjoined and engrafted back into that same mercy that's bestowed to our forefathers. I'm gonna read on. It says, give praise to Yahweh, for he is good, and praise the everlasting King, that his tabernacle may be builded in thee again with joy, and let him make joyful there in thee those that are captives, and love in thee forever those that are miserable. All right, so the Most High God said, look, he's going to build up our tabernacles again. He's going to bring joy back in our walls, back in the kingdom of Jerusalem, back in Yasha'Allah, back in the mighty men that's laboring right now, man. There's elders that have been in the truth for 35 years, still laboring, didn't give up, and enduring. Right, Paul, right? When he was, Paul is back here on the earth, but nevertheless, when he was as Paul as himself, laboring mightily for the Lord. A lot of our forefathers that died zealously, read the book of 1st and 2nd Maccabees, died zealously for the name of the Lord. Hey, the kingdom is for them. I'm going to jump down to I'm going to read verse 11. Many nations shall come from far to the name of the Lord God with gifts in their hands, even gifts to the King of heaven. It says, all generations shall praise thee with great joy. So all the nations, they're going to come from far, from all over, to give the gifts to the Most High God, and the Lord's going to give it to the children of Israel. Verse 12, cursed are all they which hate thee, and blessed shall all be which love thee forever. So you're going to be cursed if you hate us. You're going to be destroyed. Esau, he has an everlasting hatred against his brother Jacob. So he's never going to get right. I'll tell you that in Ezekiel 35 and 5 on down. That he just has an everlasting hatred against us. It's not going to change. But Ishmael, he going to get right. Ammon going to get right. Moab going to get right. We're going to have to rule them with a rod of iron, but they're going to get right. Ham going to get right. He's going to stop drinking blood and washing his head in piss. Those things are going to happen. And they're going to bring gifts to us. And they're going to be blessed. How are they going to be blessed? Because they're not going to be destroyed like Esau. They're still going to be slaves, but they're not going to be destroyed. Let's read on. It says, rejoice and be glad for the children of the just, for they shall be gathered together and shall bless the Lord of the just. Oh, blessed are they which love thee, for they shall rejoice in thy peace. Blessed are they which have been sorrowful for all thy scourges. And we're sorrowful right now. Our hearts are aching because we're still in this captivity. We're still in a land that's not our rest. This place is not your rest. Right, reading on. It says, for they shall rejoice for thee when they shall have seen all thy glory, and shall be glad forever. Let my soul bless Yahweh the great King. For Jerusalem shall be built up with sapphires and emeralds and precious stone, thy walls and towers and battlements with pure gold. Israel gonna be back with pure gold. Wait, this ain't pure gold. If you thought this was pure gold, you're mistaken. I knew damn well this wasn't pure gold. It looked nice, but it ain't pure gold. Imagine pure gold in the kingdom. You kind of look at it and look back at you. It's all shiny and just glowing. We ain't never seen nothing like that. But the Lord got that set up for the laborers, for the servants is laboring night and day. So now we got to make haste and we got to make a call in lecture shore, man. Because you won't be a part of this. You don't want to miss out. Let's read on. And the streets of Jerusalem shall be paved with beryl and carbuncle and stones of Ophir. And all her streets shall say, hallelujah. And they shall praise him, saying, Barak the Yahweh, or blessed be Yahweh, which had extolled it forever. By Hashem Mashak Yahushua. All right, so the heathen, they got to build this thing up, man. Ain't no getting around it. Now, I'm going to touch on the final two, things, or really the final thing, which is that we're going to have an everlasting dominion. All right, so let's get a few precepts, and then we're going to wind down. We've been on this thing for, well, I don't know how long. Maybe at least 2 hours. almost 2 hours, something like that. It is what it is though. But let's get into it. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7 and verse number 18. Right? Daniel chapter 7 and verse 18. It says, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. We're not going to ask for it. We're not asking a damn thing. We're going out there in the highways and byways, waking up the lost sheep so the elect can be sealed, so all hell can break loose, and we can begin these different plethora of prophecies that we touched on in these previous two videos, or last two videos. This video and the other one that's on the Cold Cutz channel, part 1. So it says, and shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. By Hashem Mashiach Yahushua. So this kingdom that we're going to have is forever. We're literally going to be rulers and gods over the face of the entire earth. Forever. Forever. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse number 9. I'm going to start at verse 1 real quick. It says, hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand, learn, ye that be judges of the ends of the earth. So the Lord is going to allow us to judge the ends of the earth. Give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory in a multitude of nations. For power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest. Who shall try your works, and search out your counsels? Because being ministers of his kingdom. So we're ministers of the Lord's kingdom. So the ministers, their work's going to be searched out even more than the other people that's a part of the vineyard, the other brothers and sisters. The ministers, they got to be searched out diligently. So they, that's why you see, hey, pray for brothers, man. We're in the last days. Just because you see a brother set up as a leader for the nation of Israel, or just in a WFI body, it doesn't mean anything. Pray for brothers, pray for yourself. We're praying for you. We will continue to pray for you. But we in the last days, man, and all the prayers can help. Every single prayer can help, right? To help a brother, lift a brother out the sin he's dealing with, allow him to labor more mightily, right? These things are written, right, for our learning. So if we being there for our brother, then just you being there for your brother, and the Lord can make you a part of the, a chief man that's going to be a ruler over 10 cities, 100 cities, right? Because you're there for your brother, right? I tell you that in Matthew, the 25th chapter, verse 35 on down, you want to be there for your brother. Let's read on. It says, because being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged aright, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of God. And we haven't done that previously, but now we have to do that in these last days. So let's jump down to verse number 21, right? Verse 21. It says, Slakia. And there's a lot in this chapter. Verse 21. If your delight be then in thrones and scepters, O ye kings of the people, honor wisdom that ye may reign forevermore. So if you honor wisdom and keeping the commandments of the Lord and believing and calling upon the name of the Lord, and you want to be a ruler, that's how you do it. All right. You got to stay diligent, stay fervent to be a ruler over the ends of the earth. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 8. It says, they shall judge the nations, right? So the elect is going to judge the nations. We have to get Ammon in order, get Moab in order, Ishmael, Ham, Esau, right? So on and so forth, Japhet. We're going to get them in order. It says, and have dominion over the people, and their Lord shall reign forevermore. So they're going to be put into subjection, all right? They're not going to be in the kingdom just doing their own damn thing, right? So our rulership is going to be forever. Our rulership is not for a season. It's not for one damn year. It's not for 1,000 years. It's for eternity. Let's go. Let's get, my final precept. I'm going to wrap up. This is the book of Daniel. Chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse number 44. It says, and in the days of these kings, we living in the days of these kings. You got Putin. You got President Xi, or whatever his name is, from China. You got the ruler in Iran. You got the ruler in Iraq. You got the so-called Taliban. They're the so-called king of the earth. You got, so-called damn Biden, if you want to say that. But really the men that's behind closed doors, the oligarchy that's ruling America. You got the so-called Queen Elizabeth. You got these different kings and rulers of the earth. So the Lord said, in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. So Yasha Allah, we never going to be destroyed. And we overcome the flesh right now, overcome death, will forever be lifted up in the glory of the Most High God, Yahweh by Shem Mashakum Shai. It says, which shall never be destroyed, and a kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. With that, I want a bit of strong shalom. Continue to watch for these prophecies. The judgment is written, man. We about to see in a so-called few hours a lunar eclipse. You got the lunar eclipse about to happen in a few hours on the East Coast. That's not to go out there and set up your tent and sit out there all damn night. No, but if you want to, check it out, do what you got to do. We don't want to be like the heathen, like I tell you in Jeremiah, the 10th chapter, which is worshiping the sun, the moon, the stars. But we understand the sun and the moon and the stars, they're going to reveal different things to you because that's what they're set out to do. They're set out to be signs. So, through the spirit, I might hop into another breakdown, but that would be on the Cold Cutz channel. So I had to be over here, hop into this channel, right? Help build this channel up, man, through the spirit. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Make sure you subscribe to the Cold Cutz channel. And make sure you keep on watching these last days. You knee deep in the prophecies because that's the testimony of the Lord. That's it's no coincidence we always in the prophecies because that's how the Lord wants us to be, man. He don't want us to read, let me get it real quick. We're not supposed to be here all damn day. We're not supposed to be, let me get it. You kind of reading this all day. All day you meditating upon it. All day. You in the prologue of Sirach. All day, right? You're reading Genesis 1:1. All day. Or I didn't see certain brothers, they up in the index. All day, you in the index. You got the index you kind of rip the index out and you looking at it. Okay, this is the Old Testament, or this is the books. This is how you line up the books. All right, and this is the New Testament. The Lord don't want you there. The Lord wants you in the prophecies, man. Because all hell about to break loose, and if you're not watching, you're going to be caught out there. So this is the book of Revelation. It's like it. This is Revelation chapter 19, and I'm going to go to verse number 10. Revelation 19:10. And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see, thou do it not. Right? This is John. And he fell down and tried to worship an angel. But the angel said, don't do that. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh. Worship Yahweh, for the testimony of Yahweh is the spirit of prophecy. So it's wise to be in these prophecies, man. You're a wise man if you're in these prophecies, man. Be in these prophecies. Stay in the prophecies all damn night, all morning, every day. Of course you want to read the law. You have to read the law. You got to know the law. Of course you want to read, the gospel. You might want to read the epistles. You might want to read the minor prophecies. You should be reading everything. But you want to stay knee deep in these prophecies, man. Because all hell gonna break loose. And whatever you got is what you got. This is Sirach, chapter 39 and verse 1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies. So you want to be occupied in prophecies in these last days. So with that, Kwame Asherala, we want to bid again a strong shalom to all you mighty men that's out there that's laboring, making body living sacrifice. Right? We want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Mashiach Umalak Yahushai. Kwame Asherala, keep watch. Shalom.